This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I am your host, Raquel Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada, I am now here to connect you to women that are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as female business professionals that also have a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, uplift, and motivate you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. Hello, all you daredevils out there. Raquel here, and this is episode 3 of the She Dares to Travel podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. This episode is all about working abroad, but it's got a bit of a twist because it's working abroad during COVID-19, which seems like a very daring thing to do because it is. But today's guest is no stranger to going on adventures like this. And she wanted to be exploring a different country while working over these past couple months. She is an expert solo traveler, the founder and CEO of Roselle Media Co. And she happens to have just finished her self-quarantine at her home in Toronto from her trip in France. Michelle, bonjour. How are you?
Bonjour, ça va?
Ça va? My French is horrible. I failed miserably in high school French, so that's all I know. But I'm good, thank you.
Well, that's a great thing about going. You get to you're forced to speak French. You're forced to remember all those things that you learned in the 5th and 6th grade. So it was great.
Yeah, I bet. It all comes back. Being that you're back now, are you going through withdrawals of no wine and croissants every day?
Oh my God, you have no idea. I was so spoiled on croissants over there. So I've been, every day that I'm back, I'm researching, okay, where do I get the best croissant in Toronto? And thankfully they're actually, even since the last time I was kind of in and around my neighborhood, so many cute little French patisseries have popped up.
Oh.
So I'll have to, yeah, who knew?
There you go. Check them out and then do comparison notes on which ones are the best.
Well, they're owned by French chefs. So they were
nice.
probably here before, but I never paid attention. I wasn't as desperate to, eat a croissant as I am now.
It's true. I was following your stories on Instagram there, and every morning it was such a beautiful backdrop, croissant. It looked incredible.
Croissant of the day.
A croissant of the day, exactly. How did your self-quarantine go for 2 weeks?
It wasn't too bad. I just, thankfully, I have a little apartment right downtown, so I'm kind of near a lot of my friends, and everyone was offering to just drop off groceries, but I've got those little good food deliveries that were just dropped off at my door. It was actually really, really easy. It just kind of went by really, really fast.
Good.
And with the cold weather, you're kind of in the mood to stay home and kind of just
get cozy.
Cocoon. In French they call it cocooning, so I'm okay, I feel like cocooning here.
I love it. Cocooning. That's good. I mean, tell us all a little bit about yourself. Have you always been living in Toronto?
So yeah, I am born and raised in Toronto. When I started going to school, though, that's when I kind of started. When I was doing my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, I always left home. So I went to school in New York City and I went to school in Ottawa. So Toronto's been home, but I've kind of haven't really been at home for a good chunk of the last 10, 15 years. So that's kind of added to my travel bug, is I always like to have a home base, but I don't stay here that long. I usually get, I don't know how to call it, it's a itchy palm syndrome. If I haven't been traveling for a long time, I just get really itchy, or I have withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about the next place to go, and that included when I was in school. It's going local never even occurred to me. It's where can I go? Is there a school in New Zealand I can go to?
Yeah.
Just anywhere.
Wow. You recently were a social media director at a travel agency. And leading up to that, and then of course now CEO of Roselle Media Co., what were you doing prior to that, or how did you kind of get into social media?
It's so weird to discuss because it was a long and winding road to get here. My schooling was always in kinesiology and in sport policy. Literally nothing to do with social media.
No.
I worked for the government of Canada. Literally, I was a policy analyst. So far removed from social media. But thankfully, for the Vancouver Olympics, I was a volunteer, and I did a lot of their blogging and social media, and kind of just fell into it. I was just, someone didn't show up to work one day, Michelle, we need you to do this. And I just started doing it. And it was so much fun. And so when I came back home, I started working for like tourism boards and travel boards, which eventually took me to like, working for a hotel chain, doing their digital marketing. And it was great. So I kind of fell into it while social media was kind of gaining its presence and while people were starting to market themselves via social media,
Very
which is
cool.
definitely not something that was on the radar when I was going to school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just something that I did not see myself going in this direction, but it has allowed me to, it's allowed me a lot of independence. It's allowed me to, work from a computer most of the time. Just basically
Absolutely.
what all I wanted to do was just,
Mm-hmm.
see the world and work while I did it. When I was a chef for a short amount of time, the reason I was a chef is because, well, everyone needs a cook. Like there are cooks everywhere in the world. I can work anywhere in the world by being a cook. And so, I mean, that was really hard work and probably not what I'd go into again.
Yeah.
But social media is kind of the same thing. Everything's digital. Marketing is digital marketing right now.
Yeah. We're looking for jobs that really do cater around the flexibility of working remotely. Is that the reason why you decided during a pandemic it'd be a good idea to go to France and work?
That was definitely a large part of it. During the year, I had so many trips I had planned that all had to be canceled. And so, like I mentioned before, I had like the itchy palm syndrome, and I was actually planning to move out to Bali for a little bit, and then,
Yes.
their borders closed, and I was the entire year basically just looking to get out. And so once I heard that the borders in Europe were opening, I was a bit hesitant just because, there is a whole stigma about traveling during COVID. But I did take my time and tried to find, a location where I wouldn't be near a whole lot of people. But once you actually kind of narrowed down things that you were comfortable with, it made the decision a whole lot easier. And I really just didn't want to be stuck in my Toronto apartment. It's a tiny place. And so when the weather got colder, I didn't want to be, stuck in the same place with the same,
Mhm.
you know, view of the city. I really just wanted the opportunity just to go out and enjoy some nature and get some work done at the same time.
Definitely. Have you been to France before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
I
it's
try and maybe
yeah.
go like once every few years. I love France.
Oh,
It's one of my
nice.
favorite places in the world. Yeah.
It's a beautiful city. I remember we went to Paris. We were in Amsterdam and we just did a train ride, my husband and I, to Paris for the night. One night in Paris. It sounded so romantic. And then we showed up and things didn't really go as as we had planned. So we had, I don't know, a run in with a really rude taxi driver. We got to our hotel, which was a dive, which we thought was going to be really nice. It rained the whole time, but things kind of picked up. Like we saw the Eiffel Tower. It's a beautiful city. It really is. So I can
Oh
understand why you wanted to go.
yeah, Paris. I mean, love it or hate it, it's just it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Yeah, I mean, it has the same issues that most major cities have, but there's just something redeeming about the architecture and the
Mhm.
food and the wine and croissants and uh,
Absolutely. Of
I can just
course.
yeah.
The pastries are so important. So how long were you there for in total?
So I was in France for about 2.5 months,
2.5 months.
so a good chunk of
Nice.
time. Like
Yeah.
I definitely during COVID didn't want to just travel for 2 weeks. If I was going to go, I was going to go for a long period of time. Like I didn't
Mhm.
want to risk my health and anyone else around me just by going for a couple of weeks. Like I actually
Yeah.
really was aware of just basing myself in one place,
Yep.
and treating that one place as my home.
Great idea. Because then you're the longer you're always in a certain place, the more immersed you're in it. But especially right now with COVID, it
For
makes more
sure.
sense, right? Because then you can do
Yeah.
more of the distancing, you can take your time. How did you find traveling between places? Like which cities did you venture to when you were there?
So I didn't really. I can't say that was one of the most. That was the biggest difference between traveling outside of the pandemic and during was I didn't really travel that much in between. So I started off my trip in Paris. I spent about a week in Paris. Again, one of my favorite cities in the world.
Hmm.
And then I made the decision to move to the south of France. So mainly because there's a lot of room, there isn't a huge population. So when I say south of France, sorry, I should probably clarify that and say Provence.
Okay.
So it wasn't near the coast, and a lot of small towns, which is really what I wanted. I wanted that small town feel, and I wanted to feel part of a community.
Yeah.
So I spent a good chunk, about a month of my time in a place called Avignon.
Mm.
That's basically the capital town of Provence. But actually not in Avignon. There was like a little smaller town just outside, like a 20-minute walk away, called Villeneuve.
Mm-hmm.
And it became such a home to me. It was so lovely.
Oh, so nice. So what type of things did you do while you were there? Because I know, of course, you're technically working abroad too. I can imagine how hard it is to balance working and being a tourist.
What's funny is the time difference helped.
Oh.
So back home when I'd be working, it was really hard to separate, work from leisure.
Hmm.
Or, I'd find myself working all day, like from the moment I woke up, even like
Yeah.
once I was off the clock, because you work in social media, there's always stuff happening. And so, a lot of my job requires me to be on my phone. And so I'd, be searching for posts, um, like industry posts, or just, things I shouldn't be doing on my leisure time.
Yeah.
But yeah, once there's a time difference, there's that easy separation. Like my job doesn't open until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, France time. So I basically, I went out to the cafe. I did, writing for myself.
Hmm.
I started working on my own website, and it was just amazing how much time I had to myself.
Plus,
I'd plan little
like,
day trips here and there.
yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I just immersed myself in the small town, and it was just the best decision.
It's interesting too because I can imagine it takes away a lot of the distractions that we get in our normal day to day. Like even if you
Yes,
were at home in your apartment working, it's a lot easier to get distracted to just be like, I'm gonna put that off or
yes,
do something different. Where yeah, I guess you
exactly.
remove the distractions and in a way you still can immerse yourself so you're enjoying, or
Yeah.
even if you're on your patio, you're still enjoying a view that's very different than what you'd have from home. So it's very interesting.
And I think because you start the day for yourself as opposed to, a normal work day where you start the day working for someone else. So it was just that whole change in mentality that I think just worked for me,
Yeah.
and just worked for my mental health, to be honest.
Oh
I had
yeah.
never felt so relaxed. And,
Wow.
in France, they start having wine at 11 a.m. So
No wonder you were feeling so relaxed. This is acceptable type of work that I like
I
to
was
do.
like, I can get used to this. And I did.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I will. And I keep thinking too, travels pre-COVID, because I mean, some friends and I and my husband squeaked in a trip to Thailand in like over New Year's last year. And it was right before COVID and everything. And I try to think of what it would have been like if we were there during and the differences. Like, did you notice a lot of things, were closed? Did they have different lockdown rules or social distancing when you were there that really stood out to you?
To be honest, what was really different was the mentality. Even when I was on the phone with, friends and family back home, like you could feel the stress level rising. Like as COVID
Mm.
cases were rising, I could feel the tension in my friends' voices as well. Like
Yeah.
they were getting stressed out. But life in Europe was very different. It was something that existed,
Mhm.
but wasn't affecting them personally. They still went about their daily lives,
Yeah.
albeit, in France, you always have to wear a mask, whether it's indoors or outdoors,
Yeah.
no matter where you are. So everyone was wearing a mask, but at the same time, it was still less stressful. You can have a conversation with someone in France and not talk about COVID.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
wasn't really in the news all day. And I think that
Mm.
had a lot to do with my mental health as well, was just it wasn't in your face every day,
That is a
for lack of a
huge,
better
yeah,
term.
that's a huge thing that I think a lot of us are struggling with. And it's that constant thing where
Yeah,
I even keep, the news, my notifications, everything off on my phone right now because it's so
yeah,
overwhelming that it's something that
yeah.
some days I just don't want to think about it. I want to I actually put up my Christmas tree
Yeah.
recently in no last weekend in November. And my husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I want some cheer. I wanted to focus on something
Yeah.
other than this. And I think
Yeah.
that says a lot actually about the way that they're
Yeah.
doing things, right? Yeah.
There were, less people allowed in restaurants, but,
Mhm.
there's a whole cafe culture in France. And, cafes were spilling out even farther than they used to before, just because they were trying to fit in, more people, but in a socially distanced way. So
Yeah.
people were still able to maintain that, a little bit of normalcy, even though it looked a bit different.
Exactly. Did you notice anything from locals, knowing that you were an international tourist? Were you treated differently at all?
Not really. People were more curious about what I was doing in their small town. Because everyone knows everybody when you're staying in a small town.
Yeah.
They were more curious about the fact that I was traveling by myself,
Okay. Yeah.
and what I was doing, like why I was always on my computer.
Yeah.
But in terms of any animosity for traveling during COVID, I think for the most part they were happy that I was visiting.
Nice.
They were always very welcoming and always very friendly to me. There was never any feeling of me being uncomfortable or being made to feel uncomfortable by anybody.
Yeah.
Most people were just really happy that I was there.
Oh, I love that. It's true, and it's something again. The travel industry, as we know, has been hit so hard, and you can imagine these small mom and pop type places and
Yeah.
shops and restaurants are being affected so much anywhere in the world. So that's really great to hear that they really appreciated you being there, for sure.
Like in the summertime, Provence is a huge tourist destination. And,
Yeah.
even though I went to visit in September where, tourism usually drops off, but you could tell they didn't really get the tourists this year, or, they got a few, but not that many. So yeah, they were just really happy to see people coming back.
Definitely. Well, and it'll explode. Like once things are changed and for the better, it'll get back to what it was. So that part is
For
very
sure.
exciting. Now, with
For sure.
the 2.5 months in France, what would you say your favorite part or area was?
There was so during our Thanksgiving, I thankfully had a long weekend and spent it in this little town just outside, about an hour outside of Avignon, called Roussillon. And basically, it was just a hilltop town, but the earth basically was all kind of red tinged. It was kind of as if, I don't know if you've ever seen, photos of the outback in Australia, but the earth had that
Yeah.
tone to it. And basically the entire town was on a hill, and the entire town itself was just all tinged in like peaches and pinks and like light pastels. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful town,
Beautiful.
and such really nice people and delicious food. And I would go
Wow.
back there in a heartbeat. Yeah.
And that was your first time there?
So that was my first time there. Yeah.
Nice.
It was great. That's another reason why, basing yourself in one place for a longer period of time, you do get to experience the smaller towns. Whereas normally, if I were traveling, pre-COVID, I would have probably stayed to the larger towns
Yeah.
and just kept moving, as opposed to just, really experiencing small town life.
I love that. And it's such a different pace,
Yeah.
right? And you're right in Toronto. The hustle and bustle is real. Mhm.
People knew my name. I remember there was this
Aw.
one cafe I used to come into. She'd see me coming and already have my coffee ready. Like that, it was just such
Aw.
a great, yeah. It was
Oh,
that feeling that you
yeah,
belong somewhere, even
definitely.
though you're a visitor, was so wonderful. It kind of made it feel like home. So,
Hmm.
I am gone for a long period of time, and to be able to come somewhere and feel welcome, really went a long way. I was very comfortable there.
Well, when working abroad, what would you say would be the biggest tips on staying focused?
The first thing I would say is stick to routine. So if you want to go out to a cafe every day at 10 a.m. and have a croissant before you start working, do that every day. It just keeps you in the same kind of like mind frame every single day. And other than that, my biggest piece of advice is to not get bogged down by all the thoughts that you have in your head. I'm definitely the type of person, I'm thinking about 50 different things at once, and then sometimes I definitely lose motivation because of all the things I think I need to do, all the things that I don't think I'm good enough at, all the things that I've done that I'm not happy with. You take all those thoughts that you have and you put them into, you either write them down, or I use a project management system where I just take all the ideas that I have. And it's amazing how great you feel once you just get your thoughts from your head and into writing. And you just realize that all those thoughts were just clouding your focus every day. So the minute that you get them out and out of your head and onto a screen and put it into something that you can actually then action, like schedule or think about later, you actually end up focusing more on what you need to at any given time. It's not that you forget about what you were thinking about. You've just compartmentalized it a bit better. And to be honest, that is probably the only thing that has kept me going for the last few months, because I just, I've had so many different things going on. Like I have different clients, and then I also have, my travel schedule.
I mean, I know things, of course, with the second wave and everything that's going on right now, there must have been a bit of a push for you to get back to Canada for your return, because you got back, I guess, 2 weeks ago now. How was your return and the flight and being at airports and that experience?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't even know where to start with this. So the only reason that I actually came back was I was supposed to actually return back to Toronto in December, like December 6th. And then my flight got canceled and was pushed back to December 12th. And then that flight got canceled. And then it was just a matter of, okay, now like flights are getting canceled. And so at that time, France was entering their own like national lockdown.
Yeah.
You couldn't really travel too freely between regions. And so I was actually staying in a small alpine town called Chamonix. And it was basically far removed from a lot of regions. So I had to, just quickly pivot and say, okay, I need to get out of here so I'm in a place where I can travel more freely. So I left there and went to Paris and then tried to figure out a way to get back home, and realized, wow, there are a lot of canceled flights. And so thankfully I did manage to find a flight back to Toronto via Lisbon.
Okay. Yeah.
So I ended up leaving within a week. I spent a week in Paris in lockdown, which was still wonderful. Like my favorite patisserie was right across the corner from where I was staying. So I was working in my apartment and going to this patisserie.
Oh.
Hey, I still had a great time.
Yeah, which is rare. I know, to say you've had a wonderful time during a lockdown, I don't think I've ever heard that in the same sentence.
But like you're still in, it was just, Paris for me is such a magical place. So like in France, you're only allowed out for 1 hour a day, and you need to carry with you like a declaration saying you're only out for exercise or you're only outside to get necessities.
Wow.
And so every day I'd fill out my form for my 1 hour a day to get croissants and to get myself some wine. And, I still was living in such a beautiful city that it didn't feel like quarantine to me, even though I was still working from my apartment.
What an experience.
And so, people were just like, oh, your trip must be ruined. And I'm like, no, this is wonderful. I'm working. My view outside is, just those stereotypical Parisian buildings with, the awnings, and I loved it.
Very
I
cool.
probably could have stayed another 3 weeks if, flights weren't
if your flights weren't getting canceled all the time. Oh man. So then with your flight through Lisbon, did that go pretty smoothly? Were there any delays?
No, but the flight from Lisbon to Toronto, I mean, again, there was more people than I was expecting. There was a lot of, again, digital nomads. There was a lot of students on the flight just because they wanted to make sure that they were home for Christmas.
Yes.
And with the options narrowing down, people were just leaving. But at the same time, they were taking your temperature at the airport. And I guess in Canada, you have to fill out, there's an app you need to download and have it on your phone for your duration of your quarantine, and just keep checking in to say, no, I don't have symptoms.
That's the ArriveCan app?
It's pretty easy. Yes.
The ArriveCan, yeah.
It saves you a whole bunch of paperwork once you arrive. Like I definitely saw a lot of people just filling out forms, and I'm like, just walking by them like, you're doing this the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good though. That's really, really good. So, I mean, at least it was a smooth enough experience coming back. It's too bad you had to cut your trip short, of course, but I understand why. Definitely.
But now I have a few airline credits that I can use for my next trip.
Hey, I know all the airline credits out there. I've got quite a few, burning a hole in my pocket actually at this moment. Yeah.
Like I'm the type of person that always needs to be planning. Like as soon as I come home from one trip, I need to be planning the next one. And so knowing that I have like 2 airline credits at this point, it's actually it's helped quite a lot knowing, okay, Michelle, you'll be out there eventually. Like just plan your next trip.
Just plan it.
And
It's
then when you're
fun.
ready, it's all planned.
Yeah, exactly. I actually was talking to a girlfriend yesterday and we're like, okay, let's plan a trip for January 2022. And we're going to go for the entire month to the Philippines. And we're going to island hop and we're going to see all these places. It's going to be fantastic. And then we decided we're not going to book it. We're just going to plan it. So we have something
Yep,
to look forward to. And we have this rockin' itinerary of what we want to do in those places. And then at the moment we can book it, we'll get it done. So that in
absolutely.
a way is like, oh, it brings back that excitement for travel a little bit
Right?
too. Yeah. Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about it
Especially for people
canceling.
that have the bug.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
that's just
sure.
it. So for
For sure.
those people that are looking to work abroad, maybe in the future, is there anything that you'd recommend or any tips that you'd give for suggestions for them?
The biggest tip is, you really do need to take the time and find a place that's right for you. I know a lot of people just, all of a sudden want to run off to a beach or to run off to some, remote destination. But if you're actually working, you do need to take into mind connection speed,
Mm,
accessibility to common workspaces, accessibility is there Wi-Fi in cafes.
mhm.
Um, those are a lot of things that kind of sometimes put a damper on, but in terms of you being able to work, make all the difference.
Yeah. Very, very true. I read a while back that some hotels, like in Mexico, the Hard Rock hotels, they were doing a work abroad program or a schooling abroad program. So they would
Hmm.
actually, they're catering to families or business professionals that just want to be gone for long periods of time.
Yep.
And they make sure there's good Wi Fi speed. They talk about the connection that they need or whatever workspace areas in their hotels. And then for the kids, they actually have kind of like a little schooling area. And then whatever curriculum they need to do, they can do with you there. So people
Yep.
are getting very creative. I've never even thought
Oh,
of
for
that
sure.
before. Really
And
creative.
I mean, with one thing that COVID has taught us is, so many of our jobs we now realize can be done remotely. I
Mm.
was reading an article the other day that the most successful companies going forward post COVID will have to offer remote work opportunities.
Definitely. Especially
Yeah.
like it's such a fantastic option and I think for a lot of people, some people work so hard, including myself working mall hours in a retail travel
Hmm.
agency location for 9 years and just prior to COVID hitting, I ended up swapping and then working from home. So I kind of had that
Yep.
experience, but I wanted that experience. I wanted to be at home. I
Yep.
wanted to pick my hours to work. And I think for a lot of people it means a lot to have that as an option.
And we're so connected now. Like there are so many programs that help us stay connected
Mhm.
where we don't need to have a physical location.
Yeah, exactly. It's
And
neat.
yeah,
Very
and
true.
I actually also read a lot of countries now before they start opening their borders to the general population to tourism, they're first opening up their borders to workers, and they're
Ah,
offering working visas for remote workers. Like the Bahamas is doing it, and I
yep,
believe Thailand will be opening their borders to working tourists
yep.
before the general population, and same with Bali. Bali is offering visas for working tourists before they'll open it up for tourism.
For
There's a
tourism.
lot of opportunities right now for people that want to work abroad.
Yeah. And it's just a matter, like you said, finding that right location that's going to cater to the needs that you need in order to get your work done.
Yeah,
And hours, of course,
exactly.
like Bali's hour change is so different. So that would be a little tricky,
Yeah,
but it's all doable, right? Depending on
yeah.
how you want to work it. Now I know you've
But
traveled a ton in your lifetime. And a lot of the travels that you've done have usually been solo, which is really, really cool.
yeah.
Because I think that's something that I know even as a travel agent, a lot of females would always come in and just say, hey, I want to travel solo, but I don't even know where to begin, how that works. Where would you say is one of your favorite destinations you've been to?
Oh, for solo travel, I have to
Yeah.
say Australia
Okay.
it was so easy to travel on your own in Australia. Um, you know, it's a place where just driving around the coast
Yep.
is such a relaxing, wonderful thing. And Australians as a whole, they're so friendly. They're such a friendly group of people. If they see that you're by yourself, they'll buy you a round of beer. They're just
Aw.
such a great, yeah,
Us Canadians
they're
like
so
that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I found there's also no judgment. So there's a lot of places where I'll travel where, you're sitting in a cafe by yourself and people will ask you what you're doing there by yourself, or, oh my God, you're not here with your husband. Oh my God, you're not married. I feel like often there's like a script you need to follow when you're in some countries trying to explain why you're traveling by yourself. Like Australians, because they're so remote, you'll see Australians traveling all around the world. They're often by themselves. And that's why I don't think there's that stigma attached to solo travel in Australia, and why they're so welcoming to solo travelers as well.
Because it's such a very normal thing. Well, and I find so many Canadians go to Australia and vice versa for the most part too, for travel.
I think our countries are very similar, and just from just speaking to Australians is they also feel very at home in Canada. I just feel like our personalities are very, very similar.
Did you drive yourself when you were there on the other side of the road?
So I actually, for part of the trip, I started the trip out on the West Coast instead of East Coast. So I drove up and down the West Coast on my own. On the other side of the road. And there were a lot of close calls. You just looking over the hood of your car, it's like, I don't know if it's your depth perception. It just doesn't look as far. And oh my God, I thought I killed a person once.
Oh no.
I didn't, but I was just like, oh my God,
too close.
I just had to stop and was just like, that was hard.
Oh man, that's like in Ireland. My husband and I, he drove. I did not even try. I couldn't do it. But one time I remember he just tried to make the right hand turn, but it was like a close one, like a tight right hand instead of a wide, and so we ended up going into oncoming traffic, like a 4-way intersection. And I was like, no.
Oh, no.
But it's a hard one to get your
I can feel that.
mind going.
I can feel it.
Oh, it's so true.
So first of all, once you stop turning on the wipers instead of your blinkers.
Oh yeah. I could see that being a big issue, actually. A big one.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, on the heels of driving on the other side of the road, what would you say, if you had to pick one, I'm sure there's a ton, your funniest travel story is?
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, funny we were just talking about Europe, but my very, very first trip abroad, I had just finished my master's degree. I still remember this feeling. I dropped off my published thesis on my supervisor's desk, and that day booked it out of town, and I literally booked it. And I went to Europe for 3 months.
Wow.
And so it was my very, very first kind of backpacking trip. It was definitely my first time anywhere far away. And I didn't know the ins and outs of travel. Like I actually said I was probably late to the travel game. I didn't really know what the etiquette was. And so it was my very first day on a train. I was going from Belgium to Amsterdam. And this is also a PSA for anyone who's looking to travel by train in Europe. I had to pee so badly. So I get on this train, I'm like dying to pee. I put down my bag and go to the bathroom, not realizing you're not supposed to go to the bathroom while the train is stopped. And so as I'm mid-pee, the door just slides open and there's a woman standing in front of me, and she's laughing hysterically, but also she's trying to shield me from the platform, because it was a full platform and I was out in the open just peeing, and I'm like midstream. I was dying to pee. There was no way that I was able to stop. So she's laughing hysterically, but also trying to hide me. I was mortified.
That's so brutal. Because those platforms get busy.
To your listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any European platform is always busy.
So many people.
Word to the wise, don't go to the bathroom while the train is stopped.
They almost need to have signs on well, they probably do. I don't even know.
They probably do.
Right? Oh my God. That is something I'm sure you will never make that mistake again. Ever. No.
What was funny is this time riding on the train, I just refused to go to the bathroom. I'm like, I don't trust these doors. Like, yeah.
Smart. There you go. Just hold
I was
it.
traumatized.
That is too funny. Well, for all of those female solo travelers that are dreaming about future travels and just about going somewhere on their own, what would you say to those ladies looking to fly solo somewhere?
I feel like women, for some reason, have been conditioned to believe that they need to do something with someone else. Like, whether it's going to the bathroom by themselves, going, shopping with someone else. We've somehow been conditioned that we need someone to go with us. Or, the fact that people think that the world is such a scary place and everyone's out to hurt you. But it's actually quite the opposite. I feel like as a solo traveler, people have been looking out for me more than I felt like someone was trying to take advantage of me. I started traveling and, just stayed at hostels the entire time. And I feel like by staying at hostels, you're staying with an environment of people that are looking out for each other. So it's just, I think, and I got over that fear very quickly of, not being able to do it on my own, just because of that level of support from fellow travelers. And I think
cool.
it's just, I can't even stress enough how much support you get from fellow travelers abroad. Whether you're with someone or you're not, like the fact that you're kind of out doing something adventurous together kind of brings you together. And I feel like women, definitely, I feel like we're a smart group of people. We have good instincts. Women especially have to remember that they have the ability, in their daily lives to do this. And you can translate that to when you're traveling. Like, there are so many benefits that you get from traveling on your own. You become more independent. You learn to take things on the fly and to live for the now, and be able to pivot. And I feel like things like that are very transferable to daily life here, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur. Independence, being able to think on the fly, getting out of your comfort zone, thinking outside of the box. Those are all qualities that you learn when you're traveling by yourself that can be applied in your daily life and that you'll learn from and grow from. And I think a lot of the reasons why I am where I am and the person that I am now is because of all of my experiences traveling by myself.
Yeah, I believe that. I read an article the other day that companies nowadays actually look at travel history when they are looking to hire someone. So
Oh, wow.
and travel experience, and some companies really value that because of exactly the qualities and traits that you said. So it shows how some people can think really quickly on their feet, and you have to pivot and change and think outside the box to get through some situations, because travel doesn't always go smoothly. I know
No.
it's not a thing. It's not a thing. No. Very cool.
No.
Very, very cool. So you are the CEO of Roselle Media Co. Where can people find you?
So you could catch us online at www.rosellemediaco.com, but also on social media at Roselle Media on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Beautiful. I love it, Michelle. And as always, thank you so much for your insight, your sense of adventure, really during one of the hardest times hit in travel. And I just really appreciate you chatting with us today. So thank you for your stories.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I'm always happy to talk travel.
I
It's a matter of
appreciate
getting
it.
me to shut up is probably the hardest thing to do. It's like, Michelle, we're done. Stop.
It's amazing, though. Travel is something that for anyone that's passionate about it, it's something that's so easy to talk about, definitely. And I just want to thank you again. It really just goes to show that anything is possible when you are wanting a change. And I really commend you, Michelle, so much for taking the leap of faith to explore Europe safely. And I know this may not be a realistic opportunity for everyone, but one day the borders will open further. And with so many companies and businesses having more of a focus on working online or from home, you really never know where it may lead you in the world. Or maybe there's a passion project that you've been working on and it's been put on the back burner, or something you wanted to start up. Now is really the time for us to get creative, because who knows when we will have more time to focus on ourselves like we do now. If you like this episode, please subscribe and download a few more and leave a review. I would really love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, let me know if there's any aspect of the travel industry that you want me to talk about next. You can search for the hashtag She Dares to Travel Podcast on Instagram and comment on the episode's post with your questions. I would love to answer them for you. I hope you enjoy your day, stay so well, and until next time, fly straight. This wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, Staples Studio, where I am currently recording from. Check them out on their website, studio.staples.ca. It truly is a new approach to co-working with community at its heart. There's access to hot desks, meeting, and event spaces all across North America. So thank you so much, Staples Studio, for connecting us and sponsoring this podcast. And thank you for listening. Enjoy, and be sure to subscribe and follow along.